guys, I'm Chirag and welcome to part 2 of the tutorial series on Python basics tutorial. In this tutorial, I'm going to cover the print function, and I'm assuming that you already have Python installed on your system. If you have still not installed, then go ahead to python.org/downloads and download the relevant Python version for your relevant operating system, right? So let's get started. So generally, print function comes handy while debugging the application or inspecting the variable values or printing some pointer information, right? But apart from that, it's crucial for CLI application and in many other ways, right? So print function is kind of the crucial part of any application. Right, so let's get started. So here I am going to use Sublime Text and I have created a file saying p2.py. So basically we can print any string or value in two ways. We can use single quotes or we can use double quotes, right? So let's see. So if I say print single quotes, and I will save this file, and I have this terminal where I will be running. So I will say python 3 p2.py, and as you can see it says single quotes, right? We can even use double quotes. So I will replace single quotes with double quotes. Oops. Right, so this is how you can print any string using single quote or double quotes with print function. Right, so what if now I want to print something like this using single quotes? Aren't you learning Python? Right, so now if I go ahead and print this, it says syntax error or invalid syntax, right? Because it's assuming that the starting of this single quote is ending over here and rest of the string is kind of undefined. So that's the reason it's throwing a syntax error, right? So to overcome this thing, we can print something like this. Let me comment this. So instead of single quotes, I can say double quotes over here, and it will treat that single quote within a double quotes as a string. And now if I go ahead and print, then it will be working fine, right? So but now what if you want to print it using single quotes and you don't want to use double quotes? So in that case, we will be using the escape character, right? So let me uncomment this. So the escape character is basically the backward slash. So don't get confused between forward slash and backward slash. It's the backward slash, right? And now if I go ahead and run this file, then it's going to work fine, right? So basically, while we prefix a special character with backward slash, it will be treated as ordinary character. Is that in this case it's string, right? So that's how you can use escape character to print single quotes within single quotes, right? So while some characters prefixed by backward slash have special meaning, so for example, if I say print hello escape character and world, right? So what it will do is it will print hello in one line and world in another line, right? So basically /n is for new line, right? So now if I go ahead and say python 3, so as you can see it's printing hello in one line and world in another line, right? So as I said, while we prefix character by backward slash or the escape character can have special meaning, right? So moving along. Now what if I go ahead and print hello space comma world. So what it will do is it will concate hello space world, right? So let's see. Let me clear this. Now as you can see, it says hello world, right? But it's adding two space, right? So by default, if we are using comma for a concate operation, then it's going to add one space, right? So as you can see, it's going to add one space by default between two string, right? But we can also go with this hello plus what, right? So this will also work as a concate, right? So now if I go ahead and print, it says hello world, right? So it's not printing space. So by default, when we use comma to concate two strings, it's going to place space between those two strings. But while we use plus as a concatenation operator, it's not going to put any space, right? So for that, we have to manually put on space over here, and we can say python 3 p2.py, and as you can see, now we have proper string, right? So again, let me clear this. So that's concate, right? But what if I say print up about the world, so comma an integer, right? So will it work? So let me comment these things, right? So let's see, I'm running this file. So it says up about the world, so 5. But if we use plus as an operator to concate these two things, then will it work? So let's see. I will copy this, and instead of comma, I will say an operator. So now as you can see, it's throwing an error. It says can only concate string, not into string, right? So these two strings, I will say, have different types. So up about the world, so is a string type, and phi is indicated as integer, right? So it has an integer type. So that's where it's not able to concate string with an integer, but we have a workaround. So you can manually typecast the integer to string. So we have inbuilt function that is str that denotes string, right? So now it's going to work, right? But as usual, it didn't add any space after so we can do it manually, and we can run it again, right? So now it's working fine. So basically you have to change the type of an integer to string in order to make it work in terms of concatenate, right? By default, Python print statement ends with a new line, but we can modify it, or we can replace it, right? So if I say print, let me comment this, print welcome, and if I say another statement saying to Python tutorial, right? Now let's go ahead and print this. So it says welcome in one line and to Python tutorial in another line, right? So as I said, by default it separates or it ends with /n, right? So what if we want to replace that? So we can use a parameter saying and, right? So print welcome, comma, I want to end the string or end this print statement by space and not by /n. And now if I again copy and paste this print statement over here, then let's see. So now as you can see, the previous print statement and the another two print statement, right? So here it ended with /n, but here it ended with space, right? So that's where the whole string is printed in a single line. So you can use AND parameter to replace that default functionality, that what it should end with, right? So for example, we can also do something like this: print hello world, and I want to end this as exclamation instead of slash n, right? Or maybe I will say at the rate. So now if I go ahead and run this, so it says hello world at the rate, right? Right, so that was the end parameter of the print function, right? So let me again comment this. Now if we go ahead and say print a comma b comma c comma d, right? So what it will print as a space b space c space d, right? So this is the default print mechanism. So now I want to separate these alphabets by comma and space. So instead of a space b, it should be a comma space b, right? So for that, either we can rewrite the whole string as we want, or we can use a parameter called SEP that stands for separator, right? So let's see how it will work. So I will say print, let me copy this, and I will say SEP, that is separator, equal to what I want to separate it with. So by default, it's separating all the string with space. Now I want to separate individual string with comma and space, right? So let's see. So now as you can see, it says a comma b comma c comma d, right? So that's how separator works. So you can use whichever character you want to separate it with. You can use pipe, right? So this is how it will look. So that's separator. But now apart from and sep, we have other two parameters that we can use within print, that is file and flush, right? So that is something I will cover later in this tutorial series. So at high level, what we have covered in this tutorial is printing with single quote, double quotes. We had explored escape character with some special meaning, right? We have seen concatenate operations within this, and we had also touched upon a little bit on casting from integer to string, right? And we had learned about the and sep as a parameter within print statement, right? So that's it for this tutorial, and till that time, if you want me to do tutorial on any use case or service, then please leave them below and I will try my best to come up with the tutorial as soon as possible. And if you have any queries or comments, then again please leave them below, and don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel, and see you next time.